Hey, it's Christine Grace. Welcome back to my channel. Today is another reaction video. Like the video on your way in. Let's get straight into it. So today's video was sent in to me by one of you lovely people, and it is another video from the YouTube channel Lungs of Faith. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but I reacted to a Lungs of Faith video not too long ago, a few weeks back, and I really enjoyed the channel. So go check it out. I'm excited to see what this one has in store for us today.
My body count's 11, and no, it doesn't matter. Unless it's like excessively high. I would like to not exceed 25 before I get married.
11. And she looks about 18.
Modern dating is a straight-up humiliation ritual designed to ensure either one of two outcomes: marry a 304 or watch your bloodline die out. By 21, the average American woman has slept with at least a handful of men, can't boil water without a tutorial, and obsesses over her degree, likes, and Instagram clout instead of building a home. Yet the same woman demands a guy who's 6 foot tall, earns 6 figures, and still begs for a chance at her attention on dating apps.
My man's gotta be above 6'2". What is your 100K salary cap gonna do for me?
Meanwhile, every self-improvement video, podcast, and book is screaming at men: fix your frame, lift heavier, stack cash, become the prize. But where's the equivalent for women?
Ultimately, I think the
Exactly. This is what I keep saying.
whole political system is just based around women never being accountable for any of their choices.
This isn't random. Hookup culture, porn, social media, and a century-old social engineering experiment have rewired women to chase infinite validation, and it's nuking birth rates and making modern dating feel hopeless. And the data tells us that if we don't do something about it now, this could be the end of our civilization. But the system has weak points. There are incentives nobody talks about, and once you see them, the whole spell breaks. That's why in this video, we're ripping the mask off the biggest dating scam of our time, exposing the incentives that created this mess, the architects who built it, and the dark side of the red pill that nobody's willing to talk about. This is why. The reality is that the disproportionate shift in female to male value can be explained with a simple economic analogy: inflation. When a currency gets inflated, the price tags go up, but the underlying value doesn't. Sometimes it even flips. You pay more for less, and basics suddenly costs premium. Now apply that to dating and marriage. We call this hoffflation. Not because women are the enemy, far from it, but because the modern environment has warped the market for everyone, and we'll get to why exactly I think that is in a bit. It's much more sinister than you think. Expectations have been inflated. Standards have been inflated. What I deserve has been inflated, but the virtues that actually make marriage work haven't been cultivated at the same pace. The issue is incentives. Many women are trained subtly but constantly to see traditional values as oppressive or beneath them, and to chase status signals instead: credentials, clout, vanity, attention, and options. When a whole culture treats sex like a currency, it's no surprise that women feel more desirable than ever, while becoming less prepared for making the home and serving their husband. This isn't something I'm making up. This is data. Using national...
No, this is true. I mean, obviously, I'm sure he's going to show us some stats, but just in my short time appearing on podcasts, I was flabbergasted at how many young women, and even like older women, I mean like women in their 40s, didn't know how to cook. Like, as in they knew how to cook some pasta, but they didn't know how to cook, and they didn't really cook, which is shocking to me. I guess what's also like indicative of this fact is the fact that I don't really know anyone my age, I mean myself included, who grew up in the kitchen with their mum. You know, that's something that doesn't really exist anymore. I certainly didn't know how to cook when I left home and, you know, went to university, but I taught myself because I realized I'm going to end up eating super noodles for the rest of my life unless I learn how to cook. So you learn these things. I can't believe that people... It was literally a few months after me leaving home, I realized I need to seriously learn how to cook some food that I enjoy, because I'm going to go broke very quickly, eating takeaways all the time, or I'm going to get really malnourished because I'm just eating ready meals all the time. Literally, I would say about 3 months after moving out, I was like, right, I need to learn how to cook. And now I love cooking. Love it. Now I get to eat food that I've made and enjoy it, and also get to make it for other people and watch them enjoy it. So it's shocking to me that people go longer than that period. Some people will go longer than 3 months. Some people will go 10 years, 20 years without learning the basic skill of how to cook for yourself. But I do think it's interesting that, yeah, that's not really... You don't really hear of many women like growing up in the kitchen with their mothers anymore. And I think it's a very Western problem. Obviously I live in the UK. UK is full of all different cultures. Like a lot of other cultures, I think, still have that. But as far as like British culture is concerned, I don't know anyone, even older than me. I don't think I know any girls that sort of grew up in the kitchen with their mums.
Representative NSFG data, among women ages 20 to 24, about 29% reported having slept with 2 to 4 men, 23.4% reported 5 to 9, and about 13.1% reported 10 plus. A nasty 1% also reported 40 plus partners. Fast forward to 2025 and the data's even more bleak. The US fertility rate hit 1.6 children per woman in 2021, way below the 2.1 replacement level, and it's dropped by 22% since 2007. By 2024, births to married women averaged just 1.7 children per couple. Meanwhile, a record 1 in 3 young adults ages 25 to 34 will never marry, with only 20% of 25-year-old women and 23% of men ever tying the knot. That is the lowest we've ever seen in history. But why? Dating apps and social media amplify hypergamy, women chasing the top 10% of men, while the economic pressures make single life safer. 2025 Atlantic Peace calls it America's marriage material shortage. Adults are 20 to 30% less likely to partner up than in the 90s. And here's where the hoffflation kicks in. The average guy is getting hammered with correction non-stop. Fix your habits, fix your body, fix your bank account, fix your confidence, fix your game, fix your resume, fix your trauma, clean your room, stand up straight, become dangerous, become disciplined. And honestly, a lot of that message has been a net positive. It's produced better men. But why is almost none of that energy also aimed at women?
This is what I keep saying. And we hear from all of the sort of traditional Christian conservatives like, oh, men need to do this, men need to do this. And I'm like, well, why aren't you telling women to be better? And they are like, oh, well, we are telling women to be better. We're telling women to go to university. We're telling women to get their degree. We're telling women to be successful and contribute to the economy. And it's like, that's not it. That's not helping the problem here. The problem here is the fact that we don't have people marrying each other anymore. We don't have people, creating families anymore. So how do we restore that? These are the same people that are apparently for traditional gender roles, but yet they're the same group of people that constantly harp on about getting women into the workforce when really, they should be harping in the opposite direction, in my opinion. I think they are turning women more into men, and therefore that's less attractive to men. And I know that the argument is obviously, well, you need a 2-parent household to survive these days, But at the end of the day, you can survive on one income. You can. It just means you're going to have to cut a few things. Secondly, nothing's going to change if we all just stay comfortable. Everything in life requires some form of sacrifice. And at the end of the day, I think it's a net good. I think it's a net good for women to start teaching other women how to be more feminine. I'm seeing more and more, creators on the female side that are popping up that seem to have the right ideas. But it seems too early to say if that's going to work yet. So I guess we'll have to see.
Because we built an economy where female validation is profitable and female correction is radioactive. The market doesn't reward telling women repent and mature and get serious, learn the skills that build a home and stop living for attention. No, that's the fastest way to go bankrupt. It rewards telling them you're perfect as you are, never change, and your standards are empowerment, and any critique is hatred. Take this example. Recently, this comedian was humiliated in front of the entire world for his wife Jasleen making content that is beyond reprehensible for any woman, let alone a married one.
Sometimes I get so painfully nostalgic for college. So for context, I went to college from 2011 to 2016. I was popping my and living my best life in these white boy frat houses, and I had a roster of guys that I would rotate.
This is not a two-way street. This is a one-way street. His money is our money, and my money is my money.
And it only gets worse when she openly said that she wants to sleep with her co-host's husband.
Would y'all ever have an orgy together with your husband? Priya, I'm actively trying to have an orgy because this couple is good looking.
Now, when people came out to...
Can you believe that they actually let her get away with saying, oh, I didn't know what it meant? Akash needs better friends.
reasonably criticize her negative influence on couples and young women, she publicly called them all incels and red pillars. So you end up with a one-sided self-improvement pipeline where criticizing women is instantly labeled as misogyny, and actual misandry and hatred of men is brushed off as putting stubborn men in their place. But it only gets more hideous from here, because contrary to popular belief, things don't always improve in so-called Christian circles.
The status quo, feminists ask for it, you're gonna get equality. You ask for equality,
That wasn't
you get
original
equality.
feminism, though.
No, well, feminism has always been a man-hating ideology, but that's another conversation.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
And I really wish that wasn't the case. But popular voices in church and online often tell men to ignore a woman's past entirely.
I think that Christianity is inundated with feminist and feminist ideology. You also see tons of workers also who use Christianity as a shield from criticism rather than coming to the religion and the faith itself from a form of humility.
If any of these women were actually serious, I think we would see it by their fruits and probably never see them again on social media. Yet that's...
This is the thing. This is the thing. Like, oh, it does bother me. It really does bother me. Like, on the one side, you know, I really don't think that you can judge people that you don't know. You can judge them based off their actions, but, you know, as an individual, like, you don't actually know online, right? But the whole Nala Ray thing, I mean, I really hope that she is actually, like, a changed woman. And that sometimes she says stuff and I think, oh, like, this is really good. Like, we should be really happy about this, right? This is a great example for young girls. Like, she's actively talking out against OnlyFans and all of this degenerate stuff. But then it's the little things, you know, it's the little things. Like, okay, she's dyed her hair blonde, which isn't as, you know, out there as the red that she had before. But, like, you know, she's still wearing the extensions. She's got, like, what are they called? Handcuffs on her necklace. Like, is that not weird? Like, is that not weird? I think that's really weird. I think it's really weird that she wears that. And then when you go to her Instagram, like, I don't know, like, she's so obviously still being sexually promiscuous in, like, a suggestive way, you know, less out there than she was before, but, like, it's still there. And I guess, you know, again, like, I'm trying to be fair here. On the one hand, you could say, well, you know, she's been this kind of, you know, professional whore for however long. So, you know, maybe it's almost kind of indoctrinated in her, and maybe it's going to take a while for that to sort of loosen off. And I hope that's true. But, like, dude, why are you letting your wife post stuff like that? Like, why are you not saying, like, you're this woman of Christ now and you posting this? Like, men are going to see that and they're going to lust over it. And then as a woman and as a wife, you should be going, you know, even if she doesn't realize what she's doing, and, you know, I'm not silly, but I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt here. Then you would go, oh, okay, like, you know, obviously I'm not going to post that if that's how it looks, kind of thing. I really want to buy it. I really, really want to buy it. I really want to have faith. But I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys. Like, I just don't. And that really, like, that hurts me that I don't. Because I do want to. But again, it's like he said, like, you have to look at the fruits. And I'm not seeing any.
Not what we see. The proof is in the pudding. In recent years, there's been a wave of many
he's going to show it.
ex-porn stars suddenly becoming Christian, which is great, but yet their outward appearance, content, and actions often reflect very little evidence of
Why?
Real conversion. Young women who idolize these influences,
Like, that is... Oh, it just really annoys me. And then it's like, if you criticize this, and I'm not even trying to criticize, I'm just trying to say, like, maybe don't do this, then the whole Christian conservative movement will come for you and say, you're not a real Christian, you should be happy for her and all of this. And it's like, it's not just about your words, right? Like, I know that's a very feminine thing to say, like, it's not what you said, it's the way you said it. But, like, we are all human beings. Like, tone, body language, mannerisms, they hold weight as well. So it's like, if I think about little girls looking up to people and, like, watching them, you know, maybe there is an OnlyFans model out there or an ex-porn star out there who presents now like quite well, you know, and I'd say like I wouldn't mind my little girl watching her, because then she can see someone who's done the bad decisions actively saying like don't do this and very clearly shifted their life. But someone like Nana Ray, like it's almost like she's saying, yeah, don't do the OnlyFans stuff because I did that and I definitely think it's bad for you, but I've corrected my life now, but watch me still act promiscuous. Like she's still acting promiscuous. I don't like it.
Influencers see this and conclude that it's okay
honestly, it's just
to cling to their old ways while claiming the label Christian for social benefits.
Woman, she's an amazing woman. She has a soul and a heart for the Lord.
Single Christian men feel this deeply. These women often seem to show up at church only when it's advantageous to land a traditional faithful man without the hard work of prayer, fitness, and discipline, and lifestyle change that the men have already invested in. They expect full acceptance and the benefits of covenant love, but
I don't know who this lady is. I'm presuming she's an ex-porn star.
Bristle at any call to accountability. The irony runs deep because society paints men as stubborn and women as flexible, yet survey after survey shows the exact opposite. Men are more likely to change jobs, relocate, or alter habits when faced with criticism or new information. Women, constantly told, "You're enough as you are," often react far more negatively to any critique. Advertisers have figured this out decades ago because the most profitable message is simple. Validate women endlessly, guilt-trip men relentlessly. She deserves everything and he's never doing enough. That loop sells products, manipulates desires, and quietly destroys homes. When affirmation becomes a business model, truth becomes the enemy, and feminism's vicious cycle rolls on unchecked. Now, the hopeful and beautiful thing is that many see through this and are beginning to wake up and rightly turn to the traditional Christian life.
I've spoke about this before. Like, I told my dad this recently and he literally couldn't believe it. But it's true, it's happening.
God at the very center. But some who try end up taking a disastrous detour that ends up doing more harm than good. The tradwife movement is the perfect example of what happens when you try to baptize an evil ideology like feminism. It's proof that the internet can take something real, good, and ancient, and then turn it into a costume you can monetize. Because at the center of the tradwife pitch is a critique. Modern womanhood has been flattened into careerism, attention-seeking, sexual liberation, and performative independence. Fine.
Oh gosh. Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about it. I'm so torn on this topic. So earlier when I mentioned, you know, I've seen people who seem to be setting a good example, I was actually referring to Savannah Faithstone, I believe her name is. She was like 19 when she got married. Obviously very beautiful girl, takes care of herself. And I think her husband's also quite young as well. So like, great, like they're setting a good example. Here's why I'm torn. Right? On the one hand, I'm like, this is great because it's counter content. It's counter content, and young women are already on social media and we're not going to get them off it. Like, genuinely, I don't see a way off of it. I think the only kind of hope that we have is with AI and stuff coming about is that the whole internet is just going to get flooded with AI, that hopefully people will get sick of it. I have a mustard seed of faith in that whole theory. But anyway, so on the one hand, I'm like, oh, this is counter content. Like, this is good. Young girls are going to look at this and think like, yeah, like this is the kind of path that I want to follow. But then the reason that I'm also like not with it is then you get into this almost like vicious cycle of they become exactly that. So they don't just become a wife, they become this like costume wife. And I'm not calling anyone out, just to clarify. Like, I'm not saying these people are wearing a costume. Really and truly, like, Savannah is already married. I hope she stays married. That's great. This girl, I only know a little bit about her. I briefly saw something about her on Twitter. I think she's like got autism or something. I'm not sure. But like, she's still really young. Like, I'm sure that she's still like in her teens. I don't know. She looks really young. Maybe I'm wrong. But like, she's not married yet. So like, maybe she will get married. And then the third person that he showed, I've seen her come up before. She's that girl who says like, I never feed my kids anything from like the supermarket, cooks it all herself. Like, again, I think that's great. I think that's amazing. But the problem is that little girls watching this, like for a time, it's like great. Like they're going to choose this different path. Amazing. But then it's like, at what point do they actually start like just doing the stuff, you know, and not just constantly filming it all the time? Because I don't think that's authentic. Like, I don't think that's authentic. Like, I personally, you know, if I'm married, like respectfully, like I don't want to be doing this anymore. Like I want to be giving that my full attention. Like as families grow, like you have to be able to prioritize your time. You know, if the husband is like working like really long hours and stuff, like you need to be able to be there and be present 100% of the time. If you're with, say, an entrepreneur who doesn't like work as much and like you guys have help, I know in like certain countries, like people still have like maids and stuff, then, you know, maybe when you've got 1 or 2 kids and they're down for a nap in the afternoon, like you can make some content about baking a cake or something, or, you know, with me, like I'll come on and do a quick reaction video, something like that. But these girls are posting like every day. Then there's another flip side, you know, none of them have kids yet. So it's like, are they going to stop when they have kids? I think, you know, obviously the more children you have, the less time that you've got. And if you're still sort of making content when you've got lots of children running around, it's like, well, where are the kids? So I'm really torn on it. Like the whole tradwife stuff, I'm really intrigued to hear your guys' thoughts on, because I genuinely, I don't know where I stand on it. As I said, like on the one hand, I think, you know, if I've got like 5 kids, like I really don't want to be making content. But then on the other hand, I can see how in early marriage and, you know, beginning of family, like I can see why some people still do it. I don't know. I really don't know where I stand on the whole topic. This is why I look up to people like Rachel Wilson, because Rachel Wilson, like she makes content now. First of all, like she's written a book, like that's freaking awesome. But like she talks in retrospect. You know, I like these women who come on and they're older and more experienced. And that's what we don't see. It's like, respectfully, like I'm not really going to listen to a 20-year-old tell me about what they think is, you know, the best way to live a married life. Like I might listen to them when they're 30 and they've been married for 10 years. But, you know, there's a common rule of don't take advice from people that you don't want their life. And it's like, you have to be realistic about that. Like you can't look at people who are half your age, because you don't know how long that's going to last. And then if you followed their advice and it kind of goes to crumbs, then where does that leave you? I know I'm rambling, but this is just I'm so torn on this topic. I think when push comes to shove, I would much rather see older women talking about their experiences in retrospect with the wisdom and time to be able to reflect and say, this is what I did well, this is what I think I could improve on, and here's the advice I would give to you, than like younger women who are obviously like in their honeymoon phase of life, excited, butterflies in their eyes, like not many kids running around. Like that's nice to see. And again, this is why I'm torn. So it's like, it's good for young girls to see because it kind of glamorizes it in a way, makes it more appealing. And I do think we need some of that. But then on the other hand, it's like practicality wise, like I can't decide. I can't decide.
That critique has actual teeth and holds a lot of weight, and I would agree, and probably all of you watching would agree. A home matters, children matter a lot, and a woman who can build a peaceful household is more valuable than the entire corporate HR department. But then you start to look closer and the whole brand starts eating itself, and it gets even worse when they start lecturing.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but if your man asks you to not dress half naked or post bikini thirst traps, it's not because he's a controlling, insecure narcissist. It's because he doesn't want other men to have access to what he has. Don't
get me wrong, their words sound sweeter than some Aunt Jemimas on a flapjack until you start looking a little bit further. It's like these women just don't understand the contradiction of criticizing women who seek attention by, well, seeking attention on social media. Half these tradwife accounts are just modesty cosplay. It's, look how private and hidden I am, filmed in 4K with ring lights and 45 takes. These girls are out here telling women to log off and to stop chasing male attention while she's got sponsored linen dresses and an affiliate link for the bonnet. It's easy to forget on social media that the virtue of modesty doesn't only encompass your sexuality, but also seeking unnecessary attention and vainglory. One of the greatest examples of this was when Candace Owens got shut down on Jubilee by some leftist feminists who picked up on this.
When you sit here and you go, you'll be more fulfilled doing this than spend all your time doing that. We would love for you to leave the public eye and go focus on what makes you fulfilled. Okay.
While most of us don't agree with this woman's whole worldview, this leftist woman is right to point out the blaring contradiction. Tradition is supposed to be rooted in hiddenness, sacrifice, and reality. These trad e-girls think that they can be the exception to the rule, but honestly it just makes the Christian position look weak by hypocrisy.
Somebody tells me I belong in the kitchen. You're right, I do. I love it here. Let's make the kitchen great again. It's so much fun, you know? Get a husband, get pregnant, make some pies. Oh my gosh, like...
Every time I see a video of this chick, like, I just think, like, is this satire? Like, is she, like, a leftist who's, like, really, like, just, like, trolling?
Oh! There's so much joy. No one understands me. No one gets it. Okay? Honey, I made muffins.
Well, what do we have here? Look at all these guys cuck-maxing in the comment section. I'm gonna have to start a wall of shame, maybe on my Instagram, because this is getting ridiculous. Let's be real, would she still be making videos if thousands of men weren't drooling over her content? If the moment that these girls realize that the only reason guys pay attention to them is because they're pretty, not because anyone actually cares about their content. A 2025 Substack expose nailed it. Women like Erica Kirk build empires preaching stay-at-home life, but their bosses raking in 6 to 7 figures from sponsored content. Without feminism, they couldn't do it. And this humiliating exchange between Andrew Wilson and one of these Christian
Oh, this one is brilliant. This one is brilliant.
Conservative covert feminists makes this crystal clear.
And as a woman, I want a strong man who is a protector and a provider that will go to war if need be, that will protect me, protect my family, make money. I see that as being actually masculine. That's like the man that I grew up with, my dad. But what we're seeing now is these young men who look at Andrew Tate and the Tate brothers. They're like, oh, great, that's a manly man. So at some point, I think we'll go back to maybe meeting in the middle here.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just more feminist nonsense, ultimately. And the covert feminism in society is big, especially on the conservative side. So here's what happens, right? Women need to have feminine virtues for men to be pursuing masculine virtues, for you to say things like, what I want is for men to protect me and I want men to make money. Well, that's great. What that ends up doing is it gives you a set of privilege in society. What do men get? What do men get for doing that for you? What are we getting from women for doing that? Are we getting chaste virgins on our wedding night? No, we're not getting chaste virgins on our wedding night. Are we getting women of great virtue? No, we're not getting women of great virtue. The idea of courtly love is supposed to be done for women of great virtue. Where are they? Well, they're nowhere. When female conservative influencers say this, it's actually a form of covert feminism. They're saying, I want privilege in society, but what is it women are giving to men to get it? What?
These so-called traditional conservative Christian women come out on television in a face full of makeup and demand traditional values from a man, while wanting to keep modern values for themselves whenever it feels convenient.
I completely agree. Like, I obviously, like, know the majority of my audience is men, right? But I've said it before and I'll say it again. You can't tell men what to do. You can't say to men, this is how you should be, this is how you ought to be, because you don't know anything. Like, you're not a man. You're not a man. And I've made this comment before, but I'm going to say it again because it's relevant here. Like, it's the same reason why Andrew Tate pisses off so many women. Because he's a guy telling women how to be. And he's not pandering to them. Women don't like it. Women want to listen to other women tell them how they ought to be. And it's like, because we know that women know what it's like to be a woman. Right? I think that's why so many women were annoyed by the whole trans thing, because it's like, no, you can't just be a woman by playing dress up. We can't really understand what it's like to be one another. Like, we're different beings. Like, we just are. Men need to tell men how they ought to be. You know, you can learn about the other side, and like, that's really and truly what my content is about. It's just listening to the other side and creating my own, you know, opinions and ideas about the other side. But really and truly, that's all I can do. Like, that's all we can do for each other, is just try our best to listen and understand. But we're never going to be able to fully grasp it to the point where you have any kind of authority to be able to say, this is how it ought to be. Because then the whole hierarchy is off. That's not, you know, the irony with the Christian conservatives is that they supposedly believe in this hierarchy of God, man, wife, children. But yet they try to be in a position of authority over their husbands, maybe not directly in their marriages, but yet they'll come on these conferences and stuff and say, like, men need to start doing this. We're having trouble with men, like, men this, men that. And it's like, do you not see, like, how you're setting the complete wrong example here? Like, it doesn't make much sense.
Contradictions only start getting worse and worse when you look at what the actual Catholic Church teaches. The early Christian saints did not hold back. St. John Chrysostom says, "You can carry your purse full of the tools of sorcery," which he's referring to makeup. "When you come out painted like that, even if you do not commit adultery, you have already committed adultery in your heart because you made all the men who saw you burn with lust." Homily on Matthew 73.
I did not know that verse. Ouch! Okay.
3. A woman who paints her face is worse than a prostitute. The prostitute at least sins with her body. This one sins with her appearance and drags thousands into sin with her. And another one, why do you deck yourself out like a whore going to a brothel? Tell me, if you were captive in chains, would you adorn yourself? No. So then why do you adorn yourself when you are captive to the devil? This so-called tradwife movement is literally the inversion of the Christian order, where the man is in the public domain battling evil, involved in debate and politics, and woman is in private, protecting her delicate feminine heart and loving and nurturing her household. If you want to know why everything feels rigged, why marriage is collapsing, why women act like Instagram porn stars and still demand a ring, you have to stop treating this like some random modern glitch. Because it's not. This entire system was built on purpose, brick by brick, over 100 years ago, and it wants you to be mad at women. It wants you to direct your hatred at the young girls today who are raised to be like this because it takes away the attention from the institutions, the financiers, and the eugenic agenda that's really at hand. There's a
Absolutely.
reason that the white ethno-European lapsed Catholic women are the ones who are least likely to reproduce in 2025. So let's rip the pretty wallpaper off and look at the foundation. Most people think that the rot started with Tinder or OnlyFans. Wrong. It started with the second they sold women's liberation as a Trojan horse for sexual anarchy. The heroes they put on the posters, the suffragettes everyone worships today. A huge chunk of them, and especially the loud male allies riding their coattails, weren't fighting for voting rights. They were fighting to tear down the last walls around sex, marriage, and family, and so the chaos we live in now could be born. Victoria Woodhull, the first boss babe to run for president in 1872, openly preached free love, said marriage was slavery, and ran a newspaper with her sister bragging about their sexual encounters and affairs. And then take George Bernard Shaw. As a famous playwright and open Fabian socialist, he openly called for state-run breeding farms and said marriage was legalized prostitution, and argued that women should be free to have children with whichever men they found most fit, even if that includes more than a few. The first step towards a new eugenic morality is to give women the same sexual freedom as men. Now it only gets worse from here. H.G. Wells, the sci-fi writer and another Fabian socialist, was a serial adulterer who bragged about sleeping with hundreds of women, pushed free love as the future, wrote novels glorifying it, and said suffrage was only useful because it would destroy the family unit and make casual sex socially acceptable. That's the real origin story they don't teach you in school, and why you're subscribing to my channel. Women's voting rights got hijacked on day one by sexual anarchists who wanted the leash off. Fast forward to the 20th century scientists. If you were hoping things get better, they don't. Bring Alfred Kinsey, claimed 10-year-olds could orgasm. You can find this in table 34 of his own report. Said jealousy and monogamy were cultural deformities. He famously claimed that the only unnatural sexual act is the one that cannot be performed. He would have made for a great episode of EDP Watch. Yet this guy got medals, university buildings, and writings turned into required college reading. After sexual behavior in the human male dropped in 1948, it sold 200,000 copies in 2 months and blew up into a national event. PBS reviews and professional circles pushed it as something educators and policymakers should read. One contemporary review even framed it as required reading for a broad list of professional gatekeepers: physicians, educators, psychologists, legislators, and judges, all of the most influential aspects of society. But its popularity wasn't an accident at all. This Space Cowboys book was propelled by the massive funding from Rockefeller Foundation, which provided the primary
Now we're getting into it.
financial backing for his research through the National Research Council's Committee for Research in Problems of Sex. What a tongue twister. Grants started small, $1,600 in that time's money in 1941, but ramped up significantly, reaching $40,000 annually by 1947. That's equivalent to about $600,000 to $1 million today. And that's not to count the dozens and dozens of other similar studies that the Rockefellers were funding at the time. At its peak, this made up a substantial portion of the committee's budget, enabling Kinsey to hire assistants, expand interviews, and publish the book. But at this time, a lot of this stuff still floated in ideas in academia, but someone had to popularize it. But the question was who? Or Hugh? For Hugh Hefner, Playboy wasn't a side hustle, it was a manifesto. It was a way to take all of these perverted ideas and begin to mold society into their agenda, one that hated the Catholic Church and the teachings of Christ and sought to blot it out from the earth. Hefner said in 1965 that the sexual revolution is the end of Puritanism and the beginning of pleasure as a way of life. Marriage as we know it will disappear. Hugh Hefner didn't just sell nude photos, he sold a lifestyle that made pornography feel sophisticated and normal. At its peak, Playboy wasn't a niche product, it had over 7 million readers in the 1970s, and it wasn't a broke rebel Zion either. A 1971 timepiece on Playboy going public reported that the corporation had $132 million in revenue the prior year, with $9.2 million net income, and that the magazine accounted for more than half of that revenue. That's the money trail. Normalize the product, scale it through mainstream distribution, and then pretend that it's just an accident and that it's just entertainment and that the people just like it. You know, what are you gonna do? It's just the people just like it, you know? I'm just walking in. And later come all the movies and film.
This guy's really good. He needs more subscribers than he's got.
Industries, which I've covered relentlessly in my video, The Biggest Lie That We Ever Bought, which is all about feminism and explains this in much more detail, but you end up having a movie called The Pawnbroker that changes the Hays Code and basically normalizes porn. And once it's normalized, it does two things at the same time. It feminizes and trains men to relate like consumers, which are always comparing and always shopping and always restless and always looking for their next fix, and it pressures women to compete in an attention market where the winning strategy is to increasingly perform sexuality and to increasingly dress less modestly and to increasingly become more and more of a hoe, even if they'd never call it that. A peer-reviewed longitudinal paper in the Journal of Sex Research examined pornography use and divorce over time. The American Sociological Association summarized the same core findings plainly. Beginning pornography use was associated with a higher probability of divorce. Coverage of the research described it even more starkly. Married people who started watching porn were about twice as likely to divorce in subsequent years in that analysis. But Hefner wasn't alone in pushing this agenda. His Playboy empire built itself on the foundation laid by Margaret Sanger, the founder of what became Planned Parenthood.
I love it when people talk about this woman because you just know they've tried to hide her for so long. I think I was about 22 when I discovered the truth on this. My whole life, I had no idea. I just thought like, oh, you know, like women just wanted the right to vote and then that's just what happened and plain and simple. And now feminism's gotten to the point where it's gone out of control. Oh, no. It was evil from the get-go. If you want to see my research on this, you can head over to Playlist and check out my series Debunking the Lunacy. It was my first like thing that I ever did on YouTube, similar to what this guy's doing. Nowhere near as good or as in-depth, but I did a little bit.
Sanger called marriage legalized prostitution and birth control the pivot of civilization so women could sleep around without consequences. Sanger's writings and speeches openly pushed for quote-unquote free love and selective breeding, arguing that unchecked reproduction amongst the unfit, including the poor, disabled, and Catholics, threatened progress. She even spoke at KKK rallies in the 1920s to promote her eugenic agenda. Sanger's first U.S. birth control clinic opened in 1916 in Brooklyn's Brownsville neighborhood, heavily Italian Catholic immigrant area. While she framed it as serving poor communities, critics note her eugenic views targeted groups with high fertility, primarily Catholics, who she saw as unfit or burdensome. Her Negro Project in 1939 aimed to reduce birth rates in black communities, conveniently also mostly Christian. But the biggest shift began after World War II. As white suburban birth rates fell after the 1960s pill, Planned Parenthood shifted focus to minorities and religious groups with higher fertility, including conservative Catholics and some Protestants.
But from my view, I believe that there should be no more babies.
Sources describe early clinics targeting inner-city areas with large Catholic populations, Eastern and Southern Europeans initially, and then later Hispanic Catholics and Italians. Even right now, 62% of Planned Parenthood abortion facilities are within 2 miles of black populations, 64% near Hispanic and Latino areas, many of which are Catholic-heavy. These weren't random weirdos. They were celebrated, funded, and platformed by all of the major American and foreign interest institutions for one goal: to destroy the Christian sexual order so that they can install the final form of human slavery, the technocracy and transhumanism. But that's for another video though, so subscribe in order to see that one. At this time, women get, quote, liberated into working and sleeping around, men get pacified with porn and video games, birth rates crash, and the state becomes the only family left. But it doesn't just stop with women getting sold the lie of liberation. The same poison that rewired society hits men even harder, and the fallout is brutal. Look at the numbers. In 2020, 2023 to 2024 data, men account for nearly 80% of all suicides in the US, with a rate of about 22.8 per 100,000 compared to women's 5.9. That's roughly 40,000 men lost every year, and it's not getting better. Rates among working-age men have climbed steadily since the sexual revolution kicked off. Loneliness is an epidemic crushing young guys. A 2025 Gallup poll found 1 in 4 men aged 15 to 35 reported feeling lonely a lot the previous day, higher than any other demographic. And that takes us to the ideal male figure of the sexual revolution. So where do these broken, angry, and desperate men end up turning? The manosphere, the red pill, guys like Andrew Tate, Rollo Tomassi, Fresh and Fit pods, and all these online gurus who promise to wake you up, but do they really deliver, or does everything they preach end up in a logical contradiction?
Man of God! Open it, man of God!
Man of God.
Man of God.
Man of God.
Amen.
I'm sorry she said that, Jesus. Don't listen to her.
Where's the holy water?
Here's the thing. They get the diagnosis mostly right, and I can say that as a Catholic from my point of view. They nail the symptoms: the hypergamy on steroids, hoffflation, women inflated with options and expectations while virtues crash, a culture that trashes traditional roles and leaves men holding the bag. They point at feminism, hookup apps, the sexual revolution, all the stuff we've been talking about today, and say this is why you're losing. And they're right. Millions of guys swallow it because it feels true. It explains the pain. It provides a villain and something to point at, and for a minute it feels empowering, and then comes the prescription. And the solution is just sleep around and never commit and treat these women like options in your personal attention economy because you're not going to fix the sexual revolution. Might as well just give up and have as much fun as you can. In other words, embrace the exact promiscuity that feminism sold to women. It's the ultimate contradiction. Like, if Hugh Hefner saw Andrew Tate and all these red pill guys, I'm pretty sure he would be very proud of what they've become.
That is a phenomenal point. That is a phenomenal point. I've said before, I certainly don't agree with the prescription. I think that it's understandable. I understand where it comes from and why, but I certainly don't hope that that's what everyone decides to take up. But that is a phenomenal point. The point about Hugh Hefner. It's really interesting.
Same ideology that destroys covenant love and crashed birth rates and turns sex into a worthless currency.
Western nations are not reproducing. They actually can't. And the reason that they can't is because once you have a rejection of some type of higher value which tells you to do a thing, in this case to breed and multiply, you're only stuck with the materialist worldview. And under the materialist worldview, why should you have a child at all? If you can do the procreative act absent the child, then why wouldn't you do that instead of burdening yourself with the result of it, which is a kid? And so once that choice becomes available, many people take it. It adds to societal decay. All of this leads to a lack of reproduction rates, and this is really bad.
These red pill prophets tell men to double down on it. Fight feminism by becoming the male mirror image. Fight fire with the same gasoline that started the blaze. And the worst part, it's a massive grift. Take Andrew Tate, the poster boy. Guy built an entire empire on quote-unquote escaping the matrix, but his main hustle was Hustlers University.
Welcome to the smartest decision you've ever made, Hustlers University. This is the smartest thing you've ever done. If you're sitting there wondering, you should already know, but if you're sitting there wondering, is this going to be worth it or not, buckle the fuck up.
Which is now rebranded as something else, a subscription course teaching game, crypto scams, and copy and paste wealth schemes. Estimates vary, but he's pulled in tens to hundreds of millions of dollars from desperate young men paying monthly fees for his wisdom, while he lived in Romania with a rotating harem and flexing Bugattis. Same with the books, podcasts, and seminars. Rollo Tomassi's The Rational Male series, all the alpha coach boot camps charging thousands. They monetize your pain, sell you the diagnosis for free on YouTube to hook you, and then they upsell the cure that keeps you addicted to validation, chasing notches, and never actually building anything real.
They'll get into that point where they have that bad breakup, or they have that bad divorce, or they're going through some kind of trauma, and it's only at that point where they start questioning about, was what I taught for real or not? And so, the work that I do kind of steps in and fills in this blank.
And the real world fallout, guys who go deep end up more isolated, and the online forums are jam-packed full of negative testimonials. Bitter 30-somethings somethings with high body counts, no family, porn-fried brains, realizing the abundance mindset left them empty.
Advocating towards spinning plates and saying that the Dan Bilzerian lifestyle is the way to go. A lot of them are in marriages for decades and decades. So like, why are they advocating for you to get a vasectomy and then sleep with a bunch of women like that you don't even like? For what? Like, who are you trying to impress? What is the point of doing this? It's ultimately like pretty empty. Everybody who's pushing that type of lifestyle, you got to look at how they're living and then see if they are even in a position to role model.
But honestly, the red pill is just the tip of the iceberg because it gets far more insane. Let's zoom in on its ugliest mutation, the looksmaxxing movement.
I keep hearing about this on Twitter, but I have no idea what it is. No clue. I keep hearing all these new words and phrases come out and I just think like, oh my gosh, like I'm getting really old because I don't know what anyone's talking about.
Hyper-fixated quest to max out your physical attractiveness, born straight out of incel forums in the late 2010s. What started as niche advice on 4chan and Reddit, like improving posture or skincare, has exploded into a full-blown cult of extremes, where desperate young men chase Chad status through diet, gym routines, mewing, tongue posture for jaw gains, and
what the hell was mewing?
And risky stuff like steroids, peptides, or even bone smashing, which is literally taking a hammer to your face to attempt to create microfractures which somehow help build up the bone in your face.
I've been bone smashing for about 2 years, pretty much every day consistently.
What? I'm a really queasy person. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, if I've mentioned before, I'm a really queasy person, and this is making me really cringe.
Don't try this at home. It's pseudoscience and dangerous. The stats paint a grim picture. A 2024 study in the Journal of Adolescent Health found that body dysmorphia among teen boys has spiked 300% since 2010, fueled by social media and dating apps.
What is frauding? So using makeup, using shoe lifts, wearing wigs, things like that. These are all frauds because that's not actually who you are. But it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. Women fraud the hardest out of anyone. They're wearing the most makeup. And, they're wearing fake bras. Sometimes they're stuffing stuff in their bras as well. So women are like the pinnacle fraud maxers. So all I'm suggesting is why can't men compete on the same level,
Well, maybe that's because we're not women, and our primary concern is not vanity. This is where it becomes clear that the red pill is just a different mutation of the transgender ideology, trying to erase the distinction between men and women, paving the way for transhumanism by
Wow. I think I'm getting red pilled again. Whatever this is, I don't know what this is, whatever pill this is.
getting people used to transgressing their God-given biological nature. What we're led to believe is that either these guys are all state-sponsored agents, or none of them genuinely have any understanding of philosophy, theology, or history, and so they mindlessly go on these podcasts spewing this logically contradictory nonsense. Platforms like TikTok push looksmaxxing content to millions, over 1.5 billion views on hashtag looksmaxxing by late 2025. These guys are funneled into endless vanity, comparing themselves to filtered ideals, and spending fortunes on ascension hacks that often wreck their health. Now enter the grifters, profiting off of this pain, like Clavicular, real name Braden Peters, the 20-year-old streamer who's become the poster boy for looksmaxxing.
Yeah, I keep seeing this guy. I'm like, why? Who is he?
Gone wrong. With over 580,000 TikTok followers and massive kick streams, he preaches aggressive glow-ups and pushing his clavicular system course, aligning with the manosphere figures like Andrew Tate. He flexes his own transformations, but in November 2025, it all blew up when he live-streamed.
I mean, he's 20. How can you say that that is a transformation? Like, dude's still growing. He's just hitting puberty. Like, he just grew up. That's all he did. He just grew up.
Injecting fat-dissolving cosmetic peptides into his 17-year-old girlfriend's cheeks to, quote, sculpt her jawline. The clip went viral, sparking outrage, accusations of exploiting a minor, performing unlicensed procedures, and endangering her health. Critics called it evil and heartbreaking, with one viral tweet saying a 17-year-old girl getting face-filtered injections by her boyfriend. The world in 2025 is truly cooked. Now, there's a few problems with looksmaxxing, the first being philosophical, the fact that they adhere to a general philosophy of nihilism or relativism, and the idea that everybody's perspective is uniquely their own and there's no such thing as objective truth, as you hear Clavicular say constantly in his episodes, that whatever works for you is good and whatever works for me is good and we can all just be one big happy family. But yet he does all the time attribute an objective standard to beauty and looks and constantly tells his followers to be moving towards that goal, which implies an ethic which you cannot derive from a nihilistic worldview, and that leads to a blatant contradiction. Now, the second and most dangerous dangerous aspect of
Oh, I can't stand this guy.
looksmaxxing that nobody is pointing out is that whether it's intentional or not, it is normalizing the incessant use of technology to maximize the human person and blurring the lines between man and technology. This is the same worldview shared by transhumanist philosophers like Ray Kurzweil and those in Davos and Silicon Valley who are massive proponents of a technocratic one-world government. To me, the looksmaxxing community seems to be at the very least useful idiots, but full video on this topic soon, so subscribe. And Clavicular publicly calls himself a Catholic, so I think he's gonna have a real hard time trying to reconcile these views with the Catholic Church's teachings. Now, what the heck do we do going forward from here? This whole mess, from modern dating, hoffflation, to tradwife hypocrisy, red pill contradictions, to the looksmaxxing madness, screams one thing: urgency. As Catholics and Christians, we can't sit back while the sexual revolution continues to devour another generation. It's time for us men to step up as true leaders, reclaiming self-improvement not as an end in and of itself, but with a divine purpose, a telos rooted in Christ. The truth is simple: women will follow the men. When men lead with genuine humility modeled on Christ's sacrificial love, women will change. But the solution always starts with the end of male passivity. Tens of millions of men, and probably more, have vanished from the workforce over the last decade, retreating into isolation and hopelessness. For everyone who might be a part of that demographic, let this video wake you up from that sinful slumber. Put on the armor of Christ and defend the word of God. If you're at the point where your life feels worthless, just give it to the one who does want it. Christ always desires you and can transform you into something unimaginable for his kingdom. Sure, hit the gym and eat clean and build discipline and self-improvement, which is good, but don't do it to seek attention from women. That's just gay. Do it in order to be able to take over the culture, in order to take over society, to Christianize the world, and to impress God, the Lord your Savior. The one who's worth your efforts is the one who died on the cross for you. The goal is never endless vanity for the sake of better looks or more hookups. That's the trap that these grifters sell. The truth is that we must improve to become more influential and more convincing vessels for God's truth. Look around the world today. Countries are waking up and fighting back against this demographic destruction. Take Poland, for example. A deeply Catholic country that literally crowned Mary as their official queen is leading the charge. In October of 2025, President Karol Nawrocki signed a law exempting parents with at least 2 children from personal income tax entirely, building on the
Wow, that's incredible. I didn't know that. That's incredible.
long-running 500+ monthly child benefit programs that puts real money in families' hands. Hungary also offers lifelong tax exemptions for mothers with multiple children, loans forgiven for having kids, and housing subsidies. Italy and Russia provide baby bonuses and maternity capital, pushing back against the emptiness of modernism by rewarding family and life. It's time we need to start asking our governments, the US government, the Canadian government, all of the governments around the world, to start implementing real change, in that we as men are pissed off and we're not going to have it anymore. These aren't perfect fixes, but they do show what happens when society rejects the lies of liberation and invest into real covenants. Birth rates stabilize, families thrive, and the poison of hoffflation loses its grip. And here's the deepest truth: when we truly live Christ, and the reason they're trying to get rid of Christianity so hard is because it's actually a threat to their agenda, and they absolutely know that. So don't despair and don't give up, because they definitely haven't given up the fight. The elites are still after your vote. They're still after your despair, and they really hope that you give up, because it would make their agenda a lot easier to push. And at the center of this antidote stands one woman, the one who defeated feminism, the one who completely counteracted all of the sickness that we see today, and that is Our Lady, the Blessed Virgin Mary, Queen of Poland since 1656, enthroned as the Black Madonna of Częstochowa, defender of her people through centuries of trial. She is the perfect woman. Look at her life: humble, obedient, fiercely maternal, and utterly pure, the direct opposition to feminism's pride, vanity, and rejection of motherhood. Mary crushed the serpent not through rebellion or empowerment, but through her quiet fiat, her hidden sacrifice and pierced heart. She never negotiated with Satan, and neither should we. Until next time, this is Lungs of Faith, and as always, don't negotiate with terrorists.
Wow. That was a long one. Wow. Thank you for sending me this video, because that was really incredible. Usually when I see these kind of videos, I'm usually quite aware of all the research that has taken place, like, because I've been down a similar rabbit hole myself. But genuinely, this one has like blown my mind and convicted me quite a bit. I feel like I need to go sit down and think about all this. I don't really have any final closing thoughts. I feel like I've said what's come to mind as it's come. You guys should go check this guy out. Lungs of Faith. Go look him up. he's incredibly smart. He looks really young. So I'm intrigued to find out, you know, his story, because what he's doing is incredible. There's a lot to think about. So yeah, go show some support to the channel, because as he said, like, these kind of videos, like, they do take a lot of hard work. Having done a research series myself, like, I know how intense they are. So definitely go give him some love and some support. And let me know what you think. I'm so intrigued to read your comments on this one, because there was so much to take in. I hope you stayed till the end. If you have, thanks for joining me. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section below. As always, if you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up on your way out. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell to keep up to date with all of my content. If you have a video for me to react to, you can send it over to me via my email. It's christinegracesmith@outlook.com. Or if you have another type of video suggestion, you can reach out to me via my WhatsApp community. We're building a great thing over there, and I hope to see you over there soon. And on that note, I will see you very soon in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.